this is the stash. So for ease of finding things, I've sorted it into 5 different piles. This is the other paper. So this is stuff that's not necessarily botanically related. It's all been made on the jelly plate. Most of it is on Art Spectrum's tissue. Some of it is on rice paper, but most of it is like that. So these are good foundational pieces to pull from. And when I flip through them, I'm kind of looking at patterns, and I'm looking at colors, and I'm kind of just seeing what kind of moves me today, you know, and that can change from day to day. I'm going through kind of a neutral period color scheme wise right now, but I do have quite a lot of nice warm papers that I can use as well. So, you know, we'll just see. And some of these papers are in fact botanically related, but they are maybe double printed, printed on both sides, printed with geometrics, printed with something else. So they're not quite pure botanical papers. So this pile is quite thick. You can see there's a lot of papers in here, and this is my other pile. Then the botanicals I have sorted into 4 categories, whether they are positives or negatives. So when I'm printing, I'll cover the gel plate with acrylic paint, so-called ink. It's actually paint. I'll put down my botanical stuff on that, and then I will pull some prints to clear off the backgrounds. That produces my negative pile. So this is what I would consider a dark negative. So you can see where the botanical stuff was on the plate. Sometimes I stamp into the background to make the background a little bit more interesting. This is an example of a negative that's been printed twice. So it's got leaves, and it has 2 colors. So the sort of the more quinacridone gold Nicolazo yellow color, and then it also has the blue greens. So that's what I classify as my negative tissues, and how they get used will just depend. I'll maybe cut them up, make shapes out of them. Sometimes I'll use a larger chunk. I also have light negatives. This is the same, but on a subsequent pull. So if I pull the majority of the paint off first, that usually ends up in the dark negative pile. And if I pull it off again and perhaps again, that will give me something that I consider a light negative. These are quite fascinating to use in the backgrounds of paintings because they're very suggestive. They're not too bold. They don't take over everything. So these are quite useful tissues. Now, once I've got the paint off the plate, I pull up the botanicals, and what's left is what I would call either the dark positive or the light positive. So the dark positives are kind of dark. Sometimes they may not be as dark in value, but they are bolder in color. And you can see some have already gotten chopped up and used. But those are typical dark positives. The light, those could often be a focal point or pull a painting together. And the light positives often end up in the background. And the light positives are usually, again, just when I've already taken the majority of the paint off the plate for the dark positive, there'll often be a residue, and I'll take another tissue with that on it, and that will give me a light positive. So when I ink up the plate, put paint on the plate, and I use the golden acrylic open paints, I will usually get at least 4 pulls: a dark positive, a light positive, a dark, a negative, and a light negative.